Salt. It's commonly used to flavor food. A little pinch is usually all you need. Too much, and well, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And for many NFL fan bases, y'all seem to have poured the whole damn shaker on your life. It's not just about what your team has done to you, it's about the endless fuming, anger, agitation, the lamentations of you and your fellow fans that builds up the salt content and really makes for some miserable, salty people. And today I'm gonna rank every NFL fan base by the amount of sodium running through their parched mouths. And that's coming up next. Before we get started, the Urban Dictionary has salty as upset over something little, being bitter as a result of embarrassment, and the most common, to be angry or agitated or simply upset. But saltiness to me is a constant mindset. You'll see what I mean throughout this vid, all the way until we reveal the saltiest fan base in the NFL. For the tiers, we have 1. Distilled water, 0 salt. 2. Somewhat salty. 3. French fry salty. 4. Instantly thirsty salt level. 5. Dehydration levels of salt. And number 6. A salt mining operation. The saltiest tier. Rams fans should be salty by that egg you laid in the Super Bowl, but really it was in the Super Bowl, so just a little salt. Fans back at the home base in St. Louis are hella salty, but hey, they got to see the team that left them get shut down like the New York City power grid. Niners fan, though it's been rough, you're generally proud of your squad even though they shipped your operations out to Santa Clara and you have to schlep through traffic. You were in a Super Bowl in recent memory and have 4 rings, so ease up on the salt. Y'all are alright. Seahawks fan doesn't even remember how to be salty because you didn't know you had a team before Russell Wilson arrived. Plus, they try to make you feel like you are actually part of the team by giving you a cute little jersey number and lauding you for being able to yell really loudly. Everyone gets a participation trophy, right? Oh, but who do we have here? A salty bunch of old sailors. Cardinal fan, you are more salty than the Indian Ocean. Your team treated you like a slug near a psychotic 10-year-old, dumping enough salt on you to dissolve your heart. 0 titles in forever. Your 1 Super Bowl ended in the worst way possible. You were instantly a salt mining operation. Damn, you set the salt bar pretty high here. Let's see if anyone can take you down for the title. Okay, so with the Broncos, even though my buddy Brandon Perna is saltier than one of those healing lambs,
the NFL Network's Adam Rank picked the Denver Broncos to go 2-14 this year. Pretty strange, a guy with the last name Rank sucks at ranking things.
compared to your division rivals, you have much less reason to be salty, since you had 2 of the greatest QBs ever wear your garish colors. But know this, Broncos fans are salty in some way over Tim Tebow. Chiefs fans would be the saltiest here, but since Patty Mahomes and his golden arm has brought his show to town, the salt test in the water has been noticeably reduced. But last year's AFC Championship game poured Fukushima-level amounts of bitterness in the water. I think John Bois is still crying on a bathroom floor over that one. Or is it pronounced boys? Raiders fan, you are hella salty. The Crypt Keeper moved your squad away, then brought them back, and now bad haircut Slimer is moving the team away to Vegas again after trading your best player and gutting the squad like a Chip and Joanna Gaines project in Waco, Texas. Your highest paid asset is your coach, but you still have a lot of history and pride, so I'd say the black hole is more known for venom than salt. And that leaves us with Chargers fans. Salty, salty, salty. You have more failed playoff runs than kids pumped through Mrs. Rivers' vag. And really, most of your fans are either current San Diegans that absolutely hate Dean Spanos and all of Boltland, ex-San Diegans who can't figure out that living in LA sucks, or LA residents who just found out they have this fancy thing called the NFL that they play in a soccer stadium. Sorry, Charger fan, you salty. Before 2009, the Saints had the saltiest fan base in maybe all of sports. But yeah, Drew Brees helped change that. Still though, that call in the NFC Championship game made you more bitter than a cranberry bog. So much so you made a whack rap about it.
Saints got robbed. Who dat, who dat?
Still less bitter than the Panthers, whose fans are grateful they even have a team because they could really give a rat's ass about the loser Hornets. But at least you can say you aren't the new Browns or the Texans. Bucks fans, salty like a pretzel. It seems like these days there's so much to complain about, whether it be arguing about Jameis, your coaching carousel, all the losing lately, but you still live in Tampa and can get hammered in decent weather. Most of the salt y'all consume is on the rim of a margarita glass. And that leaves me with Falcons fan. I had to ask my buddy Eric Rayweather which NFC South fan was the saltiest, and he didn't even hesitate. Falcons fan. It's not just about the meme, it's the long drawn out history of 1, losing, 2, no sympathy about it. You had an absurd defense in the 80s, blew that. Had Dion in the 90s, blew that. The 2000s saw first round exits, and Matty Ice, the prototypical pocket passer, hasn't led you to the promised land. And if someone calls him second tier, Falcons fans turn their living room into a dry riverbed in Utah. Falcons fan, you salty. If I had to rate an entire division as salty, the electrolyte test for the AFC South is off the charts. Least salty is the Colts, as you had Manning, Johnny U, and have luck, and occasionally work your way into the playoffs by doing things like having a defense. The thing to cause you the most salt is the fact that you live in a flyover state and grow a shit ton of corn. That brings us to the Texans, who should be optimistic about having a decent expansion team. But remember, the Oilers did them dirty for years before they left, and then the Texans come in and replicate that level of ineptness. Texan fan seems resigned to their playoff futility, so their saltiness is contained like Chernobyl. For now. Jags fan, you should be salty. Your face should look like you just ate an onion as if it was an apple. Your franchise arc is that of a VH1 Behind the Music special. You were riding high, on top of the world. Then your defense failed you like your sphincter after a meal at Texas Day Brazil. You spent all that time defending Blake Bortles only to have him disappear like White Claws at the supermarket after Trevor Wallace happened.
Ain't no laws when you're drinking claws, baby.
But you can't be any saltier than Titans fan. Titans fan has had his team gut punch him like he was Harry Houdini, finding remarkable ways to be average and the very definition of second tier in the NFL. No titles, a previous history of losing, and since McNair, you've had a list of horrific starting QBs that rival that of the Browns. Better hope Mariota develops, or you'll be eating salt for dinner. Packers fan might be the least salty in all of the NFL. You really don't hear levels of complaint and bitterness about being a Packer fan that's unusually higher than any other franchise. Maybe a little salty about Brett Favre going to the Vikings, but like, you would purchase A-Rod's bathwater if you could. Bears fan has gotten much saltier over the years, having to deal with Jay Cutler, Rex Grossman, Cody Parkey, and that inferior feeling to the Packers has got them more agitated than a kid with ADHD without his meds. Plus, the displeasure with the Hollis McCaskey family flavors like Michigan with a lot of salt. But then we get to the Vikings, who, if they were alive back then, their fans remember blowing 4 Super Bowls, then a slew of failures to follow. Yeah, there was a miracle in Minneapolis, followed by a cornfield dump in Philly. Vikes fan is proud though. I think many of them accept their fate. Sorry Lions fan, I don't think salty is the proper adjective. I think they have gotten hit over the head so many times by falling basalt stalactites that Lions fan has gone into a long-suffering coma of sports fan depression. If they are crying and hurt, it's the on the inside kind. I mean, you can't even pick on a Lions fan. God, you are depressing. Though my partner in crime, Urinating Tree, may be saltier than Lot's wife,
The Pittsburgh Steelers are one of the most hypocritical, two-faced, sniveling, and unlikable organizations in all of football.
Steelers fans are the least salty in this division. It's not that they aren't salty, most of their arguments stem from how unrealistically good they think the team is, and how much better being a Steeler fan is than being anything else. So it's shiny, arrogant salt. Ravens fans, you're spoiled. 2 Super Bowls in a short time, a couple murders, consistently in the playoffs. You even got rid of your golden boy and didn't miss a beat. The most salty you should be is towards the Redskins, who tried for years to keep you from having a team. Browns fans, sit down. We need to talk. You would be the saltiest fans in all the land if John Dorsey didn't pull some David Blaine level tricks this offseason after literally the worst 2-year stretch in the history of football. You might be stroking yourselves in fresh water like an insane monkey right now, but if the dam breaks, more salt is gonna pour into downtown Cleveland than when LeBron left the second time. And Bengals fan, this clip of Flemlo raps during the offseason pretty much sums up the salt content for most of the franchise history.
My Bengals are now in the AFC North basement with the mold and the roaches and the rats. Being a Bengals fan, like, you could always fall back on that one thing, that one saving grace. Like, at least we ain't the Browns. The Browns, the Giants, Eli, John Dorsey, Hugh Jackson, Colin Cowherd, Bernie Kosar, Mike Brown. Definitely. And pretty much that's my reaction to the Odell trip.
Cowboys fans are too busy arguing whether Dak Prescott is any good to be salty. Plus, any argument they get into always points back to the early 90s. As they say, the fish will be the last to discover water, and Cowboy fans will be the last to realize how shitty their team has been for nearly 3 decades. I'm not going to go any further on this. It's like preaching to the blind. Yeah, I said it that way on purpose. Eagles fans would have topped this list about 2 years ago, still bringing up old NFL championships when the no trophies argument started. So great, you have a ring now. Be less salty. Maybe it'll stop you from being dicks to opposing fans at the link, but zero chance of that. Giants fan, we are saltier than pastrami on a rye bun. This offseason has left a worse taste in our mouth than eating shoe polish out of the can. Eli is dying. Daniel Jones was a reach. Odell was traded away. Also, the team has been bad for a while. I've done enough crying this offseason to know how my tears taste, and they are salty. But definitely not more salty than Redskins fan. You hate your owner, you hate your GM. You finally hired a football guy, then fired him. You hate yourselves for being Redskins fans. 1993 is such a distant memory, even the plaque commemorating that year is being corroded with salt. Poor Redskins fans. You didn't even win the offseason this year. And finally, our last division. To say Patriots fans aren't salty is not true. Yes, they have won 6 rings, but if you dare bring up that Brady is a system QB, the salt starts pouring out like your name is Morton's.
Look at this throw. Look at how far down the field Brady threw that shit. I literally just jizzed all over my keyboard. I'm getting napkins right now to clean it up. But good God, what a pass by Brady.
But really, outside of that, the Pats distribute most of the salt in this league. Let's not bullshit about that. Fins fans have been growing in salt over the years, especially since living in the shadow of your new stadium roof and the Pats. But hey, you got that miracle last year, so I guess that covers up the complete failure Ryan Tannehill was, or Jay Cutler. Bills fan is too drunk to be salty. Being a Bills fan might as well be classified as a disease, with a 16-step program, each step being a regular season game and a handle of whiskey. And that leaves me with Jet fan. I don't even need to compare you to the other fan bases. You are 100% the saltiest in all of the NFL. No other fan has to not only endure their team stalling like a plane that lost engine power in the postseason, but also having to be repeatedly beat on by New England, the Dolphins, and the Bills too. What makes you salty isn't just your sorrow, it's how public you make it, how you've become the punchline of every joke, how you could somehow grab the headlines as the biggest tire fire in New York, while the G-men were throwing barrels of gasoline onto theirs. Your coach is already a meme. You signed Le'Veon Bell. You took Geno Smith in the first round. You have whiffed on more draft picks than Aaron Judge biting on sliders. Congratulations, Jet fan. You are saltier than all of the planet's oceans combined. Hey, at least you won something. Well, naturally, I'm gonna get a lot of hate down in the comments, which will, of course, prove my point. But hey, it's NFL season, baby. And don't worry, this was not a triggering vid. Part 2 is coming. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to my next video.